Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of a tutorial of making a platformer game. My name is Josh, and I'm here to teach you how to create a player and player movements using the pygame module. Let's get started. So last episode we created a window and I tried to explain everything about PyCharm and pygame itself, and a good way to structure your project with a settings file and a window file, with your main file is how everything starts. And when we do play the game, just a simple window pops up with the platformer. The icon will change in further episodes when we get our images, but right now it's just a blank screen. But we want to show something on the screen like a background or a player's image. So before we actually display an image, let's change the background to something more easy on the eyes, because to do that it's really simple. We do self.window and we need to fill the screen, so it's a fill. Now there's multiple ways of filling a screen. We could give it a default value is red or blue, or you could give it a hex value, hexadecimal value, and that starts with a hashtag and then RGB, or you can give it a tuple value, that is the RGB. I use a tuple normally because it's what I'm used to, so I always give it a default value of 20, 40 and 80. What I need to do is comma that out to make it separated and actually turn it into a tuple. Now when we run this finally, now you can see that is a nicer, a bluish screen. It's more easy on the eyes. I prefer this over the simple black screen or a default white screen. And also, if you want to know a couple of pygame shortcuts, Shift F10 is to play. So if you look up there, Shift F10, Control Z is undo, Control Shift Z is to redo. Control Z, Control Shift Z. And any others, a lot of them are mainly in the settings, so you can look up shortcuts on here, or you can customize your shortcuts. So further ado, let's get our images. So right now, we are going to use the asset pack for Pixel Adventure. It is a free asset pack, but there is a paid version where you can get more assets from it. Now, if you do want to make this a real good project with multiple assets and features, I'd recommend giving a donation. I think it's for £3 to get all of the assets. It's really good either way. There's amazing assets on itch.io, but for now, we're going to use the free assets just for the tutorial. So all you need to do is, you can donate, but I'm just going to go for the free asset pack, and that is just get into the download, and we're going to download the zip file. And all you need to know is you get this zip file, extract it into your project file, go into your project, and in here we're going to make a new directory called assets, and in here we're going to call images, just so we can separate it all out, because eventually in assets there will be fonts and icons and something more advanced for later on. So what we're going to do is get these. First we've got to extract it, so here and extract all. And when that's finished, now you can take these, drag and drop it in the images, and OK it all. And here we've got finally our images, where we've got a simple blue background, and this is just a square. What we're going to do is we'll do multiple squares on the screen, and then we can move it about to make it look like a moving background. And these could be for different locations as well, so in this game we will have different world maps with different backgrounds. As we see here, we've got items, so collectibles. Fruits will be our type of currency, so we've got apples. Now these apples can actually animate as well, so we've got an animation. and our main characters. So there are multiple. So we will work on a character selection, if you would say. But for now we will just work on, I think it is Ninja Frog. Yeah, this is the guy I usually default with because he just stands out more for me. I like this guy. And as you can see, in this image itself, this is the entire image. So how we're going to do that is, I'm going to show you actually. So, as we can see, we have got an image that has got multiple images inside it. But how we are going to use it is, this is 352 by 32. So what I'm assuming is this is going to be a square image, so a 32 by 32 image. So what that's going to look like is, there'll be 32 by 32, and what we're going to do is every time there's a 32 square, we're going to cut that image. I know it's really hard for me to explain, but what we're going to do is we're going to count how many 32s can be in that image and cut that image how many times 32 can be in it. It's a bit hard, but I will show you in a better way. But for now, let's just get into adding more files. So to help us with future self, we will add a screen file, and this is where the UI and the game would be held in. In here we would create a new folder called world, and this is where all entities, the tiles, the collectibles, all of that would store in this folder itself. And in world we will have the base of world itself. So world, this is where the world would generate. So let's first do screen. From source, engine and settings, import everything. So this automatically imports pygame and every other default value like OS, system, and these default constants. Make a class called screen. Make a init method. So we're going to take the window that we're using, so the bluish background screen, we're going to be taking that. So how we're going to do that is do pygame, pg.display.getSurface. So getSurface is get the surface of the screen that we're using. And all we're going to do is have a default update method. We're actually going to use delta time, and we'll also use a render method. So in here would be all of our drawing, in here will be all of our updating code. Just remember that, because you always want to update code first and then draw everything on the screen. Because what happens is if you draw something on the screen and then you update code, you can draw the player at one position and then he moves, but then it's not the new position that he's moved in. So you always want to render stuff after you move and update everything. So in the window, actually get rid of this because it's not needed. From source.engine and then screen, we will import just the class screen. So just this we're importing. And when we import this, it imports all of this functions with it. It won't import this up here. Just a little something to know. So let's give it a variable inside here. So screen equals screen. And I don't think we should give it any constructors right now, but we will, in the render method, we will render the screen, and also in here we will finally update the screen. Now delta time we don't have yet, so we'll just do 0, but we will give this a variable. But for now, it's just going to be a constant number. Now, as you remember, we update first and then render at the bottom. I know these are flipped, so it looks the other way around, but it's just a way that I do things. So, as we finish screen, we're going to basically copy and paste the exact same thing in world, but this is where a bit more code will be used. So in here we'll do world, and it's basically the same, so just import it here. So from and world this time, world, import the class. So just like we did in the window, we'll make a variable equals a class, and make sure you do these brackets, because when you call this brackets, you're basically calling this function here. So in this function is whatever's going to happen here. So just remember to always put these brackets, because I know some people, as myself as well, forget to do that, and it will say something like doesn't understand what self is. Alright, so what we're going to do is world dot render and self dot world dot update, and delta time is delta time. So we passed here delta time, and we're passing it through world again, and world, there it is there. And also, if you remember, delta time here is just 0 for now, but it will be a changing variable. So right now all of these classes are being used in the program. Nothing will change, as if you run, nothing is changing, but those classes are now included in the program. So, to visualize something, we can just do a really simple thing. Is let's first load the image into memory. So let's go self.img equals pg for pygame dot image load, and we're going to load this image to memory. So where it is, where we always start when we load an image, we start in the main.py directory. Now this is located here in this platformer. So what we need to do is from here we need to go into assets, so that's where we're going to go, and then inside there we need to go to images. So to go inside a folder, / and images, and inside that folder we need to get the main character. Remember, this all has to be the exact same. If you don't trust yourself or mistyping something, just click on this, copy, and that just copies the name. And in here we need to get as well Ninja Frog. There's a lot of things we need to copy and paste, I know, but we will make it a bit more simpler. And in here we will get the simple idle animation, or the sprite sheet we should call it. Oh no, I think I copied the wrong thing. Just copy, and there. So now this is loading into memory, we need to render it to the screen. Now this is really simple. All we need to do is get the window, and we need to blit it. So self.win.blit. So window is what we're going to blit it to. Now we need to give it the image, or the surface as it says up here, and the destination. So the surface is the image itself, so self.image, and the surface is going to be a tuple, an x and a y position. So right now we'll give it a 0, 0 position. Now when we run this, look at that. We have now got an image to the screen. Now this is really good so far, but this is just a constant position, and we don't want to give a variable every time we need to load an image, because if you can see, there are so many images we're going to have to import into memory. Like, look at all of those. And if you need to give it a variable every time you need to load an image into memory, it would take too many variables. And if you looked at my old live streams of making a Five Nights at Freddy's, I used to do that, make a variable for every single image there is on screen, and it took hundreds of lines just of variable names. So to make this a bit better, I am going to make a class to handle all of the importing. So what we will do in Engine, we will create a loader, and it's not going to be a class. This is just like a utilities file where it will handle all of our loading. So in here we always need to import the settings, because this handles all of our imports originally. And let's make a quick function called load tilemap. So what a tilemap is exactly what we drew here. It's a big image that has images inside it. So what we need to do is just get a part of the image, and then get another part of the image, and then get another part of the image, and that here will eventually get like 4 or 5 images from just that one part. So what we're going to do, we need to get the path or the location of what image it is, the tile size. So we know the original tile size is 32 by 32. So the original tile size will give it a keyword argument of 32. So we are able to change it, but if you don't put anything here, the default result is 32 by 32. Just so you know, you don't have to put a tile size, but if say something like boxes, you see here, hit, that says 28 by 24. That means it's 28 pixels by 24. So this here wouldn't work. So you'd need to change 32 to 28 and the other 32 by 24. That's why it's a tuple as well, because they're 2 different values. So what we need to do, we need to load it, so we'll call it base image underscore to make it more readable, equals pygame.image.load, and we're going to load the path, and then it's going to be a bit complicated. So what we're going to have to do is try and get we're going to find how many rows there are and how many columns there are, and we're going to take every image we can collect from the rows and columns, and then we're going to add it to a list. So in here we're also going to do images equals an empty list. So we have that empty list. So what we need to do is we'll go column first, so col in range. So we're going to loop through starting from 0 and going to base image, and then we need to get the width of it, and then we need to divide. Make sure you do double divide, that means the int of it, or to get no remainders, and we need to divide that by the tile size that we got. And remember, it's a tuple, so we need to get the first value, and that's the width of it. So it goes width height. And in here we will also loop through the row, so for row in range 0, base image, and then dot height instead, and also divide by tile size 1 to get the height of it. And then when we do that, we need to append images.append. So we're going to add something to the list. We need to add the images. So what we're going to do is base image dot subsurface. So that means we need to cut a portion of that image and just collect it. So we're going to get the X position and the Y position, so that is column and row. But also this is just going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, that is the tile size, but right now this is asking for a pixel position, but we're getting a tile position. So right now we need to actually multiply that by the tile size, and this is asking for width multiplied by tile size by height. And then the other thing, we need the width and height. Really simple, tile size width, tile size height. And then at the end of that, we added all of the images we can. What we need to do is just return images. This does look really complicated, but if you look at it line by line and try and take everything in, you will understand. So in world, instead of loading this big long image, what we need to do is import it first. So from src.engine and loader, we need to just import all of it because there will be multiple functions in here. Now we need to do self.image or img equals load tilemap and the path. And remember, as we said, the default value is 32 by 32. So this returns a list. You see, list of surfaces, but this only needs one surface. So let's just use the first image we've got. And boom, now we've got one little guy here. Now this works really good. So now we've loaded a single image from a bunch of images. Now that is really good. So I'm going to end this video today because it's been quite long, longer than others. But for now, you now know how to take an image from a tile map, how to properly load images, and what we will do is then learn how to put this in a player class, and we'll be able to control it using keyboard inputs. And then we will also give, in later videos, we will load maps, we will have collisions, enemies, traps, collectibles. All of this will be in this whole playlist, so don't worry, I'm not going to give up on this series. It's just hard for me to make videos because I've got college, I've got work, and I've only got about Thursday to make these videos. So hopefully I can record and edit every Thursdays and post. So I hope you guys really enjoy. Please like and subscribe to find out more on these episodes. And thank you guys so much for watching.